the league is an agreement between the owners and the players. And so you know where the owners stand, and you know the players only stand about like what's our slice of the pie right now. It's going to take like both entities caring about the game, and in order to have some kind of level of fairness.
Sometimes you do segments in this business, or you have takes in this business, and then years later you're like, man, I was really wrong about that. And sometimes you have ones that you're like, man, I was really right about that. And I remember doing a show back in 2021, Overtime, over on 106.7 The Fan, and just planning a whole segment around like a history lesson of the NBA and why that history lesson was going to look very, very different in a couple of years, because we were going to be in a period where there seemed to be no dominant superstar. And lo and behold, here we are in 2025, and we have had 7 different champions in the last 7 years, or will have 7 different champions once this NBA Finals happens and a new champion is crowned, because none of the teams remaining have won a title in the last 7 years. In fact, the Knicks are the only one that have won, unless you count the Sonics 1979 title for the Thunder, which is something Jerry Brewer does not. He wrote a column in the Washington Post about this parody, and he joins us now. Jerry, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
I really was excited to see that you wrote about this. And not only did you write about kind of the parody and like, whoa, this is neat, this is cool, this is unprecedented, you also wrote why you think this is happening, which I think unlocks a lot of other important questions about the NBA. So why do you think that we are in this 7 different champions in 7 years era of NBA basketball, when the sport's history is dominated by superstars winning multiple titles in a row?
I think it was going to happen anyway, just by the cyclical nature of sports, Craig. But the real reason why it's lasted this long and will continue to last, I believe, is that the NBA is legislating parity in a way that it never has, in a way that is similar to how the NFL does it. And, I mean, we'll see if the basketball fans' tastes are similar enough, if they're obsessed enough with basketball, like we are with football, to not have, like, dominant markets and dominant teams and dominant stars always win all the time. But it's very clear. I mean, when you go back and you look what they did in the collective bargaining agreement that they agreed upon 2 years ago that will last for 7 seasons, it's very clear that certain owners got jealous, particularly of the Golden State Warriors and how dominant they were. And they wanted to make sure super teams were done. And they wanted to make sure that the Warriors never had or anyone like the Warriors had a situation like what happened in 2016 when they were able to get the cap room to add Kevin Durant for 3 years.
So the ultimate question here, Jerry, is this good? Because I think I can make an argument that it's actually a very stupid idea, the way they've legislated the parity currently.
I think they went way too far with it, Craig. I mean, we don't want to go into the weeds of the CBA.
Who's we,
much.
Jerry? You know who you're talking to here. Like, come on. You know I love
exactly.
a CBA weeds conversation.
I mean, that's between me and you. But, essentially they have a second apron. And so if you're too far over the cap, even if you built your team in an organic manner, you get heavily penalized, up to loss of draft picks. Your ability, like NBA teams that are good have always been able to thrive on getting guys to sign for less at the mid-level exception. Those exceptions start to go away. The higher up in salary you are, you can't even make trades in which you say you're trying to trade a player. You're trying to acquire a player who makes $40 million. And, it used to be in the NBA, like if you had salaries that matched or came close to matching, you could make a trade, even if it was like you're trading 3 players for this one guy. You can't do trades that way if you're too far over the cap. It has to be a 1-to-1 trade, a player-for-player trade. On down the list, like there's a laundry list of things. Like you need a capologist sitting beside you just to see what you can do in the NBA right now. And I think that's what's going to make it difficult. I think it's not only going to make it difficult you're not only punishing really good teams that have high-priced rosters, you're also punishing teams that made a bad decision and then all of a sudden can't get out of it. So I think, yes, there's going to be more opportunity for teams to win championships. I also think in some cases it's going to keep bad teams down longer than they should be down, when you're, if you're like the New Orleans Pelicans right now, good luck to you. I think the Wizards are on a good trajectory, but if they happen to make one bad decision, on a super high priced player, they might pay, just a really, really bad penalty in trying to get out from underneath that contract. So, movement is going to be restricted. It's going to be incredibly complicated. You're going to see monster deals have to be consummated, 6 teams or more in some cases, just for little things to happen. And I don't think that's fun for the average sports fan.
Jerry Brewer, Washington Post, with us here on the Hoffman Show. I think one of the other things is teams that do it the right way or that build winners aren't going to be able to stay together. You have a situation right now with the Boston Celtics, Jerry, where I genuinely believe, after looking at their cap sheet and looking at the rules and with this Jason Tatum injury basically knocking out next year, that the best way for the Boston Celtics to move forward is probably to trade Jaylen Brown. That shouldn't be true. There's no world where you should say, hey, the best way for us to maximize our championship window is to trade one of the 15 best players in the league. Is that the kind of thing that you think could change minds? Or do you think that all the other owners are going to look at the Celtics and be like, haha, sweet, now we can have our own Jaylen Brown, and maybe the stars get dispersed in a different way?
Yeah, I don't think most owners care at all. Unless you're the ones whose team is getting pilfered by the system. I think what it's going to take in 7 years is for players to have the consciousness to look not only about how much of a slice of a pie they're getting, but how teams are built, and to push back on this somewhat. Right now, I think they just feel like, the max contract is. I just saw where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning MVP is going to be eligible for a 5-year, $380 million extension, or if he does it another way, like a 4-year, $293 million extension. So if you're a star player, you're like, this system is working great for me, and they're not thinking enough about how teams are built and whether they feel this is fair or not. So they're going to have to think in those terms. But you're right. I think the Celtics are a great example. This is a team that they built the right way. They have a core of stars that they drafted and developed right on down to the Peyton Pritchard off the bench. They made good trades in order to supplement their teams. They're not one that has gone out and spent recklessly in free agency after stripping down the team for cap space. They should be able to keep that team together, but you're looking at a team that's got Jason Tatum, who's gone for a year, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, who they'll be desperate to trade this season, but good luck this offseason in trading him, Drew Holiday, and Derek White. So you have 5 players that are making at least $30 million, not because the team, once again, spent recklessly in free agency, just because they made good moves to get good players. And they're looking at a luxury tax bill that would salary plus luxury tax penalties would be in the neighborhood of $500 million next year, which new ownership is not going to do. Old ownership was not going to do that. But more than just, that cap charge is the fact that you can't go out if you kept this roster together. You can't go out and add a role player. Say Al Horford retires. You can't go out and replace him with anything that is even league average with the way things are set up. So, I think it punishes teams like the Celtics. I think it's going to punish a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is almost entirely built, except for 2 role players, almost entirely built through the draft. If you're the Washington Wizards, as soon as you get good, you're going to have to worry about that, like in the way that you're building. So I'm not sure that this system works for anyone except for the bad teams that are crying that the other teams are too good.
Jerry Brewer with us. Last thing, Jerry, I guess not, I don't know, pushback's the right word, but like, why do you think that the burden is on the players? Because I think so many of this is like, it's not a cash problem, it's a cap problem, right? It's that, for instance, that contract you reference for SGA, that actually hurts the Oklahoma City Thunder in the team building process because they are going to have to pay him more than anyone else. That's not how markets are supposed to work. And they're going to get punished by the fact that he's awesome. And he's going to eat up a tremendous amount of their cap space compared to if he was just pretty good and not MVP level and didn't sign a super max, but just signed a regular max contract. And to me, that burden should not be on the players. That should be on the owners and on the league to say, hey, we got to think about how this is affecting our team building. The players' jobs is ultimately to care about their own checks. So if the league is being hurt by this, shouldn't the onus be like the popularity of the league, the ability for it to be what it has been at its best, which is dynastic teams going head to head, Celtics, Lakers, on down the list? Shouldn't that be the league's responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, but what is the league? The league is an agreement between the owners and the players. And so you know where the owners stand, and you know the players only stand about like what's our slice of the pie right now. And like realistically, like it's going to take like both entities caring about the game, and in order to have some kind of level of fairness, it's going to have to take some pushback from the other side that's negotiating at the table, and that's where like the players come in. But I think you make some excellent points, about this entire system. I've always thought, Craig, that the whole max salary system is stupid to begin with because everybody who like averages 20 points wants to get the maximum amount of money. Where like it's very clear that like you shouldn't have a system in which Julius Randle can get awarded the same amount as a prime LeBron James. Right? Like there's a difference. Like there aren't 25 max players in the league. There aren't 25 superstars. There's like 7 or 8. Those guys should be making more than Jaylen Brown shouldn't be the second highest paid player in the NBA when he's like the 17th best player in the NBA. So like there are all those things. I've always thought, Craig, that there should be like a designated player exception in which you can pay that guy whatever you want and only like X amount counts against the cap. I think you have to reward these teams that are doing it the right way. I give you another example: the Denver Nuggets. Not a super big market. They drafted Jokic in the second round, helped him become a superstar. Drafted Jamal Murray, drafted Michael Porter Jr., drafted Christian Brown. Made a great trade for Aaron Gordon, and they've got no bench. And I don't think that the Nuggets are the best managed team, but I don't think that they should be so afraid of the system that they don't go out and try to at least pursue another championship. And now all of a sudden we're looking at the Nuggets and you're like, man, this roster's terrible. It's like beneath Jokic, he's going to have to leave if he wants to win another title. That's incredibly just like not only you're asking the teams, like the people who run the teams, the general manager and such, to be beyond perfect, and that's just not how it works in sports.
No, and there's I think so like we could talk about this for an hour, and I've always had the same exact thought when it comes to what should be a upper middle class player getting the max, if you will. And it's just like, well, the owners could just not sign off on that deal, but you eventually have a bidding war, and that's how markets work, and that guy winds up getting the max contract, and then there winds up being a bunch of max guys and a bunch of league minimum guys and then a bunch of guys in the middle that get like the mid-level exception, and no one who actually just signs a mid-level contract because the owners and the GMs can't help themselves but have some level of restraint. And so I've had a million ideas over the year, Jerry, like literal salary slots. Like you get two 2 high guys, 4 middle guys, and 6 low guys, or however you want to do it. Like, and everyone's just slotted. You could do it on like everyone's on the max contract now, but if you make all NBA, there's a bonus, and the league has a pool of money that comes out of the middle 5% of the whole basketball, income list, and that's where that money. Like, there's a million ways you can do it. I think the other thing about this league in particular, though, is people like following the transactions as much as they do the basketball. And the transactions have become so complicated that it's hard for people to even follow that anymore. So at some point, you're just continually like stubbing your own toe on every single step you take, and it kind of feels like we're at a breaking point here. And that's why I appreciate that you wrote the column and highlighted it, because I do think these are conversations that are happening in league circles as we figure out, as everyone tries to figure out how to build a winner, because you can, but building a sustainable one feels impossible right now. And unless they change the system, I don't think there's a whole lot you can do about that.
Yeah, and the one thing that I think when it all really is going to come to a head for most people is it's very clear, Craig, and I don't want to talk generationally, but it's very clear that the load that stars are having a harder time carrying heavier loads than ever before. Now, we can talk about like whether that the reasons for that from here to tomorrow morning, but like it's very clear, like they're breaking down more. I think it's harder for them to get through 100 games if you're talking about like making a playoff run, and so that is very clear. Like, we have evidence that it's harder for these guys to carry these loads. Yet the system is saying, you know what? Your team is going to be weaker, so you're going to have to carry a heavier load. And I think like that's part of. I think we're going to see a lot more like major injuries like in the postseason, and I think we're going to have a lot more players that we're sitting there looking at like, what's wrong with you? You haven't won a championship. We're going to have to recalibrate the way we think of star players, because I think it's going to be harder in this era for guys to get 2, 3, 4. Very few stars have gotten 4 championships. Like, I think we've gotten spoiled because we had Shaq and Kobe and Tim Duncan and LeBron and Steph and so on and so forth. But this idea that like you're a lesser legend if you don't win multiple championships, I think we're going to look back at this era and not see a lot of like the dominant players win multiple championships, even though they have the resumes that suggest that they were just as great as some of these guys who did win in June.
No doubt about it. We talked about the load part of this on the show as well. It's a great point. Jerry Brewer wrote about it in the Washington Post. The parity is here to stay, whether that's a good thing or not. Read Jerry's column, and of course, if you're tuning in, you can rewind and hear some more of our conversation in the Odyssey app. Jerry, appreciate it as always, sir. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs. Thanks for your time.
All right, anytime, man. Take care.
That's Jerry Brewer with us here on The Hoffman Show, columnist for the Washington Post.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.